Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Life of the Lost. I'm Sam.
And I'm Megan.
And this week's episode is sponsored by Brown Lab Media. Brown Lab Media is focused on creating and promoting original content, personal brands, businesses, or anything media related by people of color. The website is brownlabmedia.com. So when you have a chance, feel free to check them out. On to today's topic. It's kind of off topic, but I'll let you explain.
Yeah, so I guess we were just we had already kind of just filmed an episode and we were done, and then cameras and everything, lights were off. And, oh, by the way, we have the tap light on.
Oh.
If you want to turn it off.
Yeah, we should turn it off. We're not going to cut this, so this is going to be in the live feed, just so you know.
Okay. So recently, I'm in a book club, and we were talking about this man and his life. And I'll put the book right here because I can't remember it offhand right now.
It's a book club created by adoptees.
Mm-hmm.
So, a little context to this book club. It's on brand. It's related.
And I was just talking to Sam about how... Oops, my volume is really loud.
It's all right.
I was just talking to Sam about how this guy... So this is like a really, really, really rough intro to the book. He's an orphan. He has just this terrible life. It's just kind of like one bad thing after another. And it's really sad. And while I was kind of getting into the book club a little bit today, a lot of people were like, it's kind of sad, But for some reason, my mentality kind of switched. And I was like, he goes like from place to place because he is an orphan at the age, like a really young age. He had to go and work as like fielding sheep, things like that.
And this is in Peru.
Yeah, this is in Peru, sorry.
Do you know the time frame of that?
It was in the early nine.
Okay. Set the scene.
Gosh. Yeah.
90s Peru.
Not 90s. It's like
you mean early 1900s?
Do you want to grab the piece of paper in there? There's like if you
right
open
there.
that up, in the drawer, in the thing.
Right there?
Right there.
Oh,
yeah. If you want to open it up, the top.
Oh, okay.
There's paper in the top.
All right, be right back.
Yeah. So I had kind of written it down. Sorry. This is important. Or maybe, oh my gosh, this is kind of embarrassing. You know where I wrote this down?
Where?
On the napkin. I was like doing the math of how old he was on a napkin that I was eating.
Oh my God.
Okay. But okay. So like, it was translated in 1977.
It's probably a lot earlier than that.
Yeah, because this was, towards the end of his life.
Okay. So early 1900s, probably Peru.
Pretty much he was a young boy, and he was going like house to house and farm to farm because he kept getting kicked off one farm to the next farm to the next farm. And it was kind of his own doings to himself. And pretty much what happened is he just kept getting whipped for falling asleep. And the sheep or whatever animal life he was taking care of were getting eaten by fox, or they were going away and they were getting lost. And all these just terrible things kept happening. But while I was kind of in the book club talking to them, and people are kind of saying, they kind of felt bad for him. For some reason, I was just kind of like, I don't. Like, he should have known better. He should have, like...
Yeah.
And also, that's not our lifestyle. That was how it was there in Peru at that time.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like I'm kind of, like, lived a cushy life. So I can't, like... I guess, like, I kind of look stupid for saying that, too. Is like, he should have known better. But I don't know. I have to take myself out and say, like, which life is even... Maybe I'm not even making sense. I'm trying so hard to try to...
No, I definitely understand that. I don't know, like what we were talking a little bit earlier. I don't know, it's like kind of... Is it weird to say, like, training a dog? Like, in a sense of just, like, not to say a human is a dog, but just in the sense of just, like... It is what it is. I don't know. Maybe that was a really bad example.
It's not like you're trying to say. I don't know. For me, how I kind of was thinking about it too is.
Oh wow, that had a double meaning based on the thing that you just said. I just started to realize that actually that was a horrible analogy, because you're talking about like whipping and stuff. Like jeez.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, revert that. Like try and erase that for a second. Yeah. No, that's definitely like really interesting. I'm trying to remember though. What were we talking about that got us into that specific? we were talking about, I was saying,
The
you were
cushiony
explaining to
life.
me, I was explaining, yeah, like, that's just the way Peru was back then. But
Pretty much it was kind of, this is kind of
What are we
like,
talking about?
so we started there, right? But then we kind of moved somewhere else. And where we moved, we're just talking about, you know, having kids and the difference between, you know, that's a really hard lifestyle back then and kind of a cushiony lifestyle now. We're talking about being able to, how you would raise your kids. If you could, would you raise them to be 100%?
yeah, because I was in the park earlier and I overheard a kid talking to other kids. They were trying to create a little pond because there was like water flowing, and they were just trying to create a pond. And one of the kids was just kind of saying, just caught me at the tip of my, like, kind of like off my ear. I was just kind of listening, and he was saying, the more stocks you own, the better in life you'll be. And that just like clicked to me. 7-year-old like white kid. I just completely just meditated on that thought. It's like, I wonder what his dad's like. I wonder if his dad talks to him about like how to succeed in life and kind of all these kind of like bits and pieces of what he learned over his years and how he's trying to instill it into his son to maybe create a better future or continue on his family's future in terms of like wealth and prosperity. And it was also kind of related to this because we were also talking about family and the lifestyles of Peruvian culture and how hard and kind of brutal it was.
And still is.
Yeah, and just how, like, my personal opinion of that is kind of, it's really sad. I don't like how it's so brutal over there. And, you know, I also have to think too, this might be controversial, but, you know, just in terms of just taking a survey of my mental processing of like the top countries in the world in terms of economic growth, in terms of, you know, society and prospering in terms of education. And I was just thinking too, it's just kind of like, dang, like, you know, during like the mid 1960s, you know, like, and maybe before that, you know, when the Spaniards first invaded Peru, like we you know, these Western powers really messed up South America for many different reasons.
And
it only
still are.
Yeah, it got reignited with the Cold War, you know, and Russia and all these proxy wars and these overthrowing of governments because, you know, obviously America wanted their best interests at the time and they didn't really give a crap about any of the people down there. And there was like a whole bunch of economic, you know, I'm sorry, economic disasters too, as well as environmental disasters with like oil and pollution. And so it's just kind of like, I just feel sad for them. But the honest, hard truth is that the only the elite there survive, just like only the elite in America kind of like survive. And I was just making a comparison to that, you know, where it's just kind of like they suffer because they don't know. I don't know. Like that's maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, like let me know. Like inform me, educate me. They just didn't have access to the same amount of education that we did. It's not incentivized. So if they don't have access, maybe they're angry, you know, like we were talking about earlier, like, you know, with the domestic violence and just like that kind of brutal kind of parenting sometimes where just the dad just goes off because he just goes off, you know, and that's just the way that they live sometimes. And it's, you know, it's sad, but I try and think about what got it to that point and try and kind of like get some perspective on that in terms of, like I said, education and being a huge catalyst in terms of that. And obviously, you know, they can't, like I was also talking to you about like, well, I wish that they knew the laws in Peru, that maybe they just don't know the laws there. And then you brought up that, you know, the Peruvian government in terms of like the policing is very like corrupt too. And
yeah, I mean, for an example, too, when we were down in Peru one time, like a police officer stopped our bus. And
I remember that, too, now.
Yeah.
And they were like, yo, give us like 25.
Everybody give us money. Everybody give us some money, like some money. And so the tour guide kind of went down the rows and like picked up money and then gave it to the police officer. And he's like, you can go. God forbid. I mean, thankfully, we had money. I don't know what they do because you hear those horror stories and I don't know, I'm kind of like a person who kind of thinks like worst case scenario, you're just going to murder us all and like just bury us in the desert. I don't know. Yeah. It's just a possibility that you can't kind of rule out. And so it is corrupt and it was and still is corrupt. And so it's kind of like laws sometimes in places like that don't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, you know, like this topic really went on a huge kind of like roller coaster. And we were just honestly talking about like, you know, we hypothetically like instilling like a mentality in a child in terms of just really piggybacking off the thought that I was overhearing of that child speak about stocks is everything. The more stocks you own, the better in life you'll be. And that's just like, I was like, crap. Like, I wonder, like, would I do that? You know, would I try and, you know, work so hard and just really like ingrain it in my child's like mind? Like, you know, you need to know these things because I just want the family to do better. Or your opinion was different. You were kind of like, no.
My opinion was like, yes, you want the family and people and things to do better, and you want them to always like succeed. But I also want my kids to know how to change a tire, how to build things, how to make things with their hands, how to do the laundry. So,
and my whole thing was, what if you trained him to make enough money so he never has to do things like laundry, so he never has to do things like worry about changing a car tire? Yeah, like if he gets lost in the woods somewhere, which I don't think he would, because he'd always be, you know, where he needs to be, everything would be, but like, you know,
hypothetically,
like, because all of that's, like I said, like, you know, like doing laundry, that takes time. You know, that if you're really successful, you're trying to do all these things, why you're going to take like an hour or every 2 to 3 days. In terms of that, you need to be efficient with your time. You need to like learn how to maximize it to its fullest potential, because everyone only gets 24 hours a day. Like, you know what I mean?
But that's in like a perfect world. And my whole thing was, what happens if like everything collapses and there are no like
But that's
stocks?
a hypothetical scenario that, yes, you could brace for, but like, what if that never happens? Like, well, you know, if it does, then it's a gamble either way, right? I don't know. You guys tell me. Is it a gamble? Like, am I wrong?
But I feel like I'm a 50-50 kind of person where like, yes, I would love to. Oh yeah, then we went on a tangent about education. Okay, really quick. Like, remember?
No.
Okay, hold on.
I forgot. Sorry.
Let me make it. Okay. My whole thing was, you need to be kind of like book and street smart, and obviously not everybody's always made that way, but it's good to know things. Like, I want to be able to know, I might not want to change a tire, but I want to know how to do it, so then when I ask somebody to do it for me or pay somebody to do it for me, I know that they're doing it the right way. If they go in, they're like, hold on, it's going to be like 3 hours, I know they're lying to me.
But what if you make enough money that you're like, whatever, as long as it gets done, it gets done. Whether you chip me like $100-$200, it gets done, because you just have that much money too.
But that's, I don't know, for me,
and
like every penny counts. I don't know, like.
But for one thing that I'll say this to everybody is that I know what I don't know. I know that I don't know everything. I know that I am not an elite. I know that I'm not a millionaire or a billionaire. So with that being said, how I stand right now, in my opinion, is not working. It's not working. It's not good enough. I'm not getting it done enough. So everything that happened prior in my generation was not good enough. So I have to think outside the box. I have to think about the unorthodox ways of thinking, like maybe investing all my time into really trying to figure out how to teach a child how to, you know, mathematics, you know, learning how to get the system, you know, because obviously tests, they're all system based. It doesn't judge you how smart you are particularly, but you know, if you're able to, like, you know, cultivate that, you know, maybe it can go into the child can grow up into be, you know, a very successful person. Maybe it won't, but I don't know. Like,
and you were just talking about how you needed to have like a degree, and you needed to go to school, and you needed to do that, and I was kind of rebuttaling that, because I was like, I don't think you do.
I think it's important to, because think about this, like, you know, you went to a pretty good school. I went to a pretty good school. And I have to say too, from my personal experience, like that school name got me a few jobs too. And I know you can say the same thing. Right. And if you didn't do good in school, if you just decide to opt out and just do it the kind of trade school way, was to say you might have not gotten that job.
Correct. But I'll also say that there's another like side to that coin, is like, for one, I think that
well, you know what I was going to say too? I know there's another side to this coin, but then I was going to say the same thing, which is, why didn't I do good grades? I didn't do good grades because I didn't like math. I didn't like math back then because I was too narrow-minded. Now I learned how wonderful math is, and that could have been my own short-sighting, that if I would have learned that 10 years before, I would have, like, who knows where I would have been. Like,
maybe you would have went to school for music, because that was the one thing you didn't go, is because well, one of the reasons is kind of you didn't really know how to.
It wasn't because I was scared of the technicality. It was because I didn't want it to jeopardize my passion.
But you also didn't want to learn like the notes and like the.
Because I didn't want it. Because I didn't want it to jeopardize my passion. You start like fiddling with it, then you're like, ugh.
But it could also progress you too.
It could have.
I don't know.
It could
I guess like going back to the college thing, what happens if you know learn these things like the graphic design? You can learn that on your own online. Like, I went to a school, did my bachelor's thing. It was cool. Met a lot of cool people and everything, but you can also learn that online. Now, that would have saved you like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, for one. Two, what happens if you just hung out with all those art school kids and like you got to know the crowd? Because I know people who did that too.
Is very unpredictable. That's like an unpredictable scenario that for me in my personal life is too hard. It would be unwise to test the calculations.
Think about this too, though. What if you're just all around better than the person who went to that school? I guess it depends per job, right? Like,
I mean,
if somebody
it depends on cultivating
that,
the child, right? It depends on how the child acts around the people. It depends on how the child has friends. What if the child can't make friends? But he's really gifted or she's really gifted.
Wait, I'm lost.
Because you're saying, what if this person hung out with all these cool, great people and they like, maybe got connects? But what if that person wasn't social but it was really talented? The one thing I can say is I can always default back to what works best, and what works best is just getting a degree, getting an education, and then just them sending you off, obviously.
But I don't know. The reason why I kind of rebuttal that is because somebody like you, what happens if because you knew you loved music so much, what happens if you just dropped out of school and you just focused on that every single day and that's all you did, and your mom was like dedicated to helping you do that, which she pretty much was, but like even more. And like, what happens if you became like some kind of like prodigy because you really honed in on that, just like Cristiano Ronaldo, like his mom just like taking it, and like some people don't need to go to school, and like that's the whole thing.
Sorry,
I don't know how to say his name.
Ronaldo is a 1 in a million case.
But how do you know you weren't that? And who cultivated that?
But that's
at such a young age.
But that's like an unknown variable. It's like, how do you know that the world will end tomorrow?
But I guess,
we won't. So
I guess going
then,
back
we
to
have
like
to act like it isn't.
Yes and no. Going back to that, so it's kind of funny because like I feel like
how yes and
like
no.
You guys are just kind of getting a glimpse at our conversations because like these go on forever. So we'll see. We only have 7 hours on here, so hopefully it'll be under that. But I guess going back to him and going back to people, like yes, but for me, I would like to prepare for things. Okay, so COVID is something that just happened, right? And when that happened, I'm just kind of like, oh my God, like I need a knife. Like I need some kind of like protective, something to protect me, because in Minnesota, like we have guns. And for me, that this is obviously like a very controversial thing, is like, do you need guns? Do you not need guns? Like for me, my whole thing is that I'd rather know how to use it, where if I get into a situation and it's like the gun's on the floor, in the middle of the floor, and like that person's jumping to it and I'm not going to jump to it because I don't know how to use it, which one of us dies, whatever situation.
I'm just going to run. Like he's jumping in that scenario, he's jumping to a gun. I'm going to jump out of there.
I don't know. I'd rather like know how to use it. I guess I go back to this scenario one time in Minnesota. Somebody started open firing at a mall, and somebody who had a conceal and carry license with them, and they had a gun on them at the mall, it shot this dude down and probably saved a lot of people's lives. And that's just like a scenario. I'm not trying to pack a gun because like I'm cool and I want to wear it to a bar and I want to show it off. Like I'm not like that.
Hey, check out this 6 side piece, guys. It's like, yo, put that down.
Yeah, it's not like that. But the thing is, I'd rather be prepared for if something happens, like, so going back to that, like, I don't know. There was a time of so much uncertainty when like the virus went out, like just, I guess me like watching all these crazy like sci-fi movies with you, like one day you're just living your life in this like field, and the next day aliens, the next day is zombies, like, and you don't know how to like.
That's a very paranoid kind of way of living, though, in a weird way. But for me,
it's to be prepared like that, too, because what happens if you don't know how to like distill your own water, or you don't know how to do these things?
Yeah,
because you don't know what's gonna happen. Like,
but to think about, that's always a risk in everything you take, right? Like in theory, that would be great, but how much are you willing to necessarily invest? Where does that end? Where do you draw the line in terms of how prepared you're gonna be?
And like time, how much time you're gonna put into it?
You see all these people with these like multi-million-dollar bunkers and stuff, as if like let's not to say an asteroid hits the planet and then we're all dead anyways, so you always take that with a huge grain of salt too. And I don't know, if I used to be like you. I used to be like, yo, I gotta be prepared. And then I don't know, maybe you're right, maybe I don't know anything. Like I just said earlier, the way I'm doing things right now, obviously I'm not happy with, so I want to be happy with that. And so I must have to obviously adopt new methods of living, whether it be, training yourself to wake up super early to run, or at night, maybe you were an early morning runner. Maybe now you need to be a night runner because you work better in the morning.
I guess it's just that finding that balance though,
Yeah.
because I think it's always ever changing. And for us, like, I think we hone in on something, like we'll do so good at running and like working out for a few weeks or maybe less than a few weeks. And then we get into working really, really hard and we just like lose everything else. And it's kind of like finding that like balance, and like, you might call it paranoia. For me, I just call it like being more like streetwise, right? Because my dad, he had a gun to him a few times growing up. He just always taught me to be aware of my surroundings, to teach me like some things maybe are a little bit paranoid. Some things for me have saved me multiple times that I knew. And if my dad didn't tell me these things, and if I was just this like, walking down the street, no big deal kind of girl, then like something could have possibly happened to me. So I guess like, yeah, it might be a bit of paranoia, but I'm also trying to make sure that I know certain things. Like, I want to be able to learn, like I said, I want to be able to learn how to hold a gun and use a gun. Like right before I came here, I was about to get my conceal and carry, but because you can't have guns, you can, it's a long process in New York City to get one. I didn't go through with it. No.
Yeah.
And I would have to start that process all over again.
But that was your analysis of time consuming event that you were just like, yo, it's not kind of worth it.
Yeah, but then I also feel like kind of helpless to an extent here sometimes.
How many more knives do you need?
I don't know. I guess I just feel like better. It's not like I'm trying to go stab somebody or anything. I just feel like more protected sometimes when I have something. Yeah. And they also always come in handy when we're fishing, and I have the one around my neck, and it's like, scoop, here you go.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I remember one time I was running, and I had your knife, and I just remember after my run, I was just walking down like Broadway, and I was just like, yo, I feel mad dangerous right now, because it was over my shirt, so it looked kind of like it looked either like a knife, two, it honestly was the shape of a badge, so it looked like I was like kind of like undercover, and I don't know, I just felt mad like in control. And I'm like, yo, this is too much power, get this off me. I don't want anything to do with that. I want to be, yeah.
That's why it's not like I walk around with these things like trying to flaunt them.
It's wild too.
Yeah, it's because like I have to like bring myself down, because in Minnesota, like I was always kind of known as that person who has that big knife on their pocket, and it was just because it was just a control. Like I need to be kind of in control of like my environment, like need to be ready. Have I ever stabbed somebody? No. Have I ever stabbed or killed an animal? No. Have I ever like done any of that stuff? Like no. But like
besides
for some reason,
like yourself, just like stabbing
an accident.
Yeah. Like.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like you said too, maybe I'm doing it all wrong. But I guess for me, I'd rather know how to do something or be a little prepared to have something. Like I went right away and got like this kind of emergency box kind of thing that had obviously like a knife and a compass and a waterproof lighter and all of this stuff. Because I have no idea what's going to happen with this virus, and like, just telling people like, you might want to get a knife, you might want to go get like this or that, or I don't know, like grab a poncho, like I don't know.
Yeah, like I'm over here just feeling like, I didn't even know we needed that. But I guess now that you're thinking about it, you make a good point. It's like all this stressed out, all these variables now like I can understand like your mind.
But it's funny because when I went down to the hardware store to get a knife, thinking that they just had a nice little pocket one, they were all out. He was like, yo, they went fast. And I was like, I mean, that's so like what happens with...
You're not the only one then.
Yeah, that happens with the guns down south too, with all the protesters and things. Like everybody sold out fast. Because times are uncertain. You don't know what you do or don't
It's like
need.
a spiral effect. I mean, like, my God, people were like having fist fights over toilet paper. Like, so I could definitely understand why people would jump to, holding a knife around. Especially like, I mean, definitely in the Upper West Side now, like, just been a huge kind of like problem that, issue that's been going on. But another reason why, you might want to carry something just in case, you never know what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely...
I mean, those are like a situation you can't control either. Yeah. Like the Upper West Side right now, they moved in like, I don't know, in one hotel, like 300 people who are homeless, which is fine. But these people aren't just homeless. They're sex offenders. They're people who came in and they're drug addicts, and so it's bringing drug dealers to the neighborhood. People are getting like hit over the head.
Conflict.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, what do you do? Like I said, you know, what do you do? Hold it.
So long story short, guys, college, no college. No, I was kidding.
No, for real. That's like the tangent that kind of started it.
Yeah, no, I'd be curious to know, guys. Like, what do you think? Do you think that, you know, you would, like, if you, I'll give you this scenario.
Or if you went back, could you do it? Would you do it differently? You know.
Oh, I think everybody would probably do something differently.
But would you go to college if you went back? Would you have gone for the same thing? Or would you have gone for something different?
I would have still gone for web design. Going back, I would
no graphic design at all?
No, I would have doubled down, not even on web design. I would have doubled down on web development, even deeper into it, computer science. Okay. Just because I just, you know, just to know, like, you know, where technology is going, I just think that it's going to be even more vital.
But are you afraid, like, that robots are going to take over, though, and be able to do all that stuff?
What?
But, like, be able to, like, go in and do, like, computer things? Because, like, that, what is that thing you were telling me the other day about the computers?
Artificial intelligence?
No. You said that there's a computer that can compute, like, way faster than any kind of... Like,
5G?
No. It was, you were saying, you were giving an example.
5G. It's kind of related. No, seriously, no, let's be on the lookout for that.
Wait,
it was computing, quantum computing.
Yes.
Quantum computing, which is, you know, saying that, you know how normal computers work right now. It's like a 1 or a 0, and obviously a huge number of ones and zeros that are, you know, arrayed on a virtual, like, command. I don't know. Work with me, guys. You know, how each one is set up specifically for a command. But with quantum computing, the 1 and the 0 is 1 and 0 simultaneously at the same time, therefore making the processing speed of making a decision that much more greater. So now you're not just making one command. You can run multiple simulations at the same time on the same question. So it's just awesome to think about that. Think about like an analogy of like what are they called? The maze, like a maze. And you have to follow the line each time, and you have to realize, oh, that one leads to dead end. Try another time. Oh, that one leads to dead end. But with the quantum computing, it just all automatic at the same time. All of them just go, and they automatically find the right way to go in. So that would just, you know, that takes years and years and years and years and years off of, like, you know, questions that we have about the universe and complicated math problems and equations that scientists just can't even fathom, because it just takes so long to process all that data. With quantum computing, it could just happen in like a moment, honestly.
So then can't that, like, figure out, if we're figuring quantum computing out, can't that figure out, like, web design and things like that?
Yeah, I suppose it can.
So that's
but also, I feel like the technology, when it first will be available, will also be very expensive, and it'll take time to integrate into the society and stuff as well. So maybe for my children's lifetime that will be an issue, but I don't know. I think this lifetime, I think we're okay in terms of learning. But you know, like, don't quote me on that, guys. You know,
with everything coming
we're full
out,
with all surprises in this world so far. 2020 has been a crazy year. But yeah, no, I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on whether or not, you know, you think college is important in terms of the success of an individual, let's just say in the Western society, or not. Do you think that, you know, you can just make it on your own and just do your own research and maybe tutorials, and maybe I'll throw in like mini workshops? Do you think you'd be able to get the same amount of information than being in college and going the more traditional way? Let me know your thoughts down below. And, you know, we'll see you next time on Life of the Lost.
Thanks for tuning into our random thoughts and rants as we kind of go to a little bit off topic, but kind of like it started with this book and kind of ended with college and quantum computing and everything.
So it's kind of on topic in a way. Like, this book was like this book was the source of was the inspiration to our talk about life and about different mentalities.
Maybe we should just have like the camera on us at all times, because like this happens all the time. Right?
Yeah. Well, that might be a thought that we might do, because we are also doing vlogs as well. So maybe we'll be able to infuse some of that sometimes. You know, have some podcasts not in the
realm of just adoption,
or not, or even in this specific
area.
Physical place.
That's true.
You know, we can maybe do it on one of our fishing adventures and stuff.
That'd be fun, actually.
It would. So
also check out our check out our website, supay.life, because we have apparel on there and some bandanas and shirts and
yeah, that'd be a great way to
beanies.
support us, support the channel, support the movement, support like us trying to figure out where we fit in this world. So yeah, that would be, really great. What'd you say? Supay,
supay.life.
not .com,
Dot
.life. www.supay.life. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.